Welcome to the fourth video, and in this video we're going to talk about a sensitive topic, and it might be triggering warning to those who are watching because we are going to talk about sexual harassment in the workplace. And before we discuss about sexual harassment in the workplace, we must first define what is sexual harassment in the first place. Sexual harassment is unwelcome sexual conducts which make the person who are receiving it feel offended, humiliated, or to a point very intimidated. So sexual harassment can happen when the person who are receiving it are not giving consent to the conducted activities. And it can happen in many forms. It can be physical or verbal. It can be something such as unwelcome hugging, groping, suggestive staring, or suggestive comments. Sexual harassment at the workplace can create a very hostile environment that is not safe for people and employee inside that place. And the reason why sexual harassment happens is because of the harasser themselves. And the harasser can be both men or women, not just men. And the victim can be both men or women, not just women. So this needs to be very clearly put out there that sexual harassment is conducted, is done, is happened, occurred because of the harasser themselves that decide to conduct such activities. And sexual harassment itself happens in a lot of places, especially in workplace. And oftentimes the most common cases is that the superior is doing it. And why it happens in the first place? Why the most common cases are the superior, the bosses, the people that are on high management level, are doing it to those under his supervisions. It's done because harasser did it because they feel a source of power to dominate other person, and they feel like they are allowed to do it because they have power. They can dominate over that person. That's why people in power have the tendency to do it, to conduct such activities, but that doesn't mean or doesn't eradicate the chances there are people from the same level of management are doing it to one another, because again they feel that they have power over power over others, that they can do it and it's acceptable in their philosophy of mind. And also this is done because lack of education, lack of knowledge, lack of not lack of anything, but it's very ignorant. They are ignorant towards boundaries, personal boundaries of other person. So understanding that the very basic of why it happened is very, very crucial, because if we understand the personal boundaries, it can be very, very easily eradicated or minimized. That brings us to the second discussions of what can we do to prevent it from happening or even resolving it if the unfortunate activities, very, very unfortunate activities, had been conducted in the workplace. So the first is every company, every workplace had to conduct a sexual harassment policy. They need to have standard operational procedure or regulations that regulates when this activity actually occurred in the workplace. What can be done? What steps needs to be taken to the victims, and what steps can also needs to be taken to the harasser, because it is very unethical and to an extent very inhumane to keep a harasser in the same environment, in the same place with their victims. So workplace needs to implement and very strictly implement this policy. The throughout every employee within an organization, not just people on the lower management, because people on the higher level of management have a tendency to do it too. Thinking if we are going to bring it to the worst context, that people have a tendency to do it, although in the first place they were not supposed to have that tendency to do it, because it is such basic knowledge of human being. And then for the resolving, it also needs to be regulated in the policy. To an extent, a company needs to conduct sexual harassment seminar, how to avoid it, how to not be a harasser. This needs to be very deepened, to put into depth, how not to be a harasser, how you as a person, how we as a human are aware that we are not conducting such very horrible, horrendous activities to other persons, to learn about boundaries, about ethical. So I think a company needs to build the capacity of their employee to really ensure that their employee has basic human ethical before they are, because in my opinion, if you are having the basic human ethical, you're not going to think to that extent of thinking that sexual harassment is a fine thing because you have power itself. So the ethical is very, very important for the employee to be implemented and the company to be strictly monitoring it. So human resource management or human resource department needs to monitor these activities, to monitor the company, to prevent it from happening, because we are monitoring the employee, and of course sexual harassment is conducted by a person, people, an employee, and we need to ensure that we don't have that culprit, the harasser inside a company that will create a hostile environment, or even to an extent ruin the company's name. And I hope this short brief video is very clearly and carefully explained, and I hope this video is also beneficial, insightful, and very helpful to you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the videos in the playlist.